If we don't have a further question, I think there is now the pool that can be launched. I suppose the audience experienced yesterday. I am not an expert, but I think you have the website. You can link to the website and read the QR code, and then you can contribute to the pool. We have the first question. What are expected to be the key methods for risk assessment of combined exposure to multiple chemicals? Maximum 2 keywords. Come?
Sì. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, good. Still some people are contributing.
Lots of keywords.
Maybe we have 81 answers. Would you like to comment? We have, no. Apparently that's all. So Jean-Luc?
You want me to comment on
Yeah?
on the potentially the correct answer to this question?
I think you can comment on the answer if you consider the answer in agreement with your presentation.
Yeah, from the very high level, the first few slides of the guidance document, mixture methodology splits into two key methods: the whole mixture approach and the component-based approach. That is the starting point, because of course we have to identify what we're looking at. So I can see that there are lots and lots of different answers, which in a way, could be perceived. Exposure assessment, hazard assessment could also be methodologies, but with specific regards to mixtures, we really split them between whole mixtures and component-based when we know the individual components. So this was the basis of the question too. And I can see that component-based is here and whole mixture is also here.
But in a limited extent.
Yes, to a limited extent. So maybe I should have asked approaches instead of methods. That might have confused the audience. So
maybe. We have another question. Which of the following statements is true? There is a single prioritization method available for
prioritization.
Priority chemicals and group them into assessment groups. prioritization methods are only exposure driven, or prioritization are risk-based and exposure driven, allowing to refine the grouping of chemicals into assessment groups. Or the last one, prioritization methods are risk-based and use exposure and hazard data for whole mixtures. We still have people answering, so
Yes.
I think we can wait a bit.
Yeah. It's a live. Wow.
Yeah, it's live.
How many participants do we have today?
I don't know exactly the number, but the people answering are 86 at the moment. I think we have much more attendance, more or less close to 300. Okay.
Thank you.
I think you can comment. We have 91 answer.
Well, I'm quite pleased that so the first, of course, the first answer, there is a single prioritization method available. Of course, the way the guidance document was structured was describing several of them. Prioritization method are only exposure driven. Again, that's and yeah, most of the audience looked at the fact that, of course, we are looking at prioritizing on an exposure driven or risk-based basis. So this one is correct. The last one, of course, two methods, whole mixture and component-based approaches, because this guidance document is relative to component-based approaches. Of course, risk-based and use exposure and hazard data for whole mixtures, that was not correct.
Okay. Do you have other question for the pool? Okay. We have another question. Which of the following statements is true? Exposure to multiple chemicals can only be addressed using probabilistic models for accounting co-exposure. When assessing multiple chemicals, combined exposure, probabilistic models provide better estimates of variability and uncertainty. Deterministic model cannot estimate the variability of exposure within a population because they rely on summary statistics. And the EFSA pesticides residue intake model is used to acute cumulative exposure to pesticide residue. While we are waiting for the answers, there is a question from the audience for France, but I think we can answer later as the previous lot of speaker, because we are a bit late, so we cannot go on after the pool.
Okay. Well, I'm glad one of the main messages I wanted to get across has actually come across. So indeed, probabilistic modeling provides better estimate of variability and uncertainty, and that's why it's making it an interesting tool when assessing combined exposure to multiple chemicals. I think the main reason why I wanted to get this message across is because everybody likes the word probabilistic. It's very fancy, but you need to know when to use it and why to use it. And I think that's really one of the messages that's important to get. The fact is that deterministic models can be used also to estimate variability of exposure within a population. But for example, if you want to start addressing uncertainty, that is not possible with deterministic models. So that's why the third statement is actually not correct. And also the pesticide residues intake model is based on summary statistics and is absolutely not adequate to address acute exposure to combine residues at this stage because it does not provide possibilities to properly express the variability, which is really a key issue when you are assessing acute exposure. So basically, most of the audience had selected the correct answer.
Okay, do we have further questions? Again, we have the question, which of the following statements is true? So the possible answers are only mycotoxin can be biotransformed by plants, biotransformation of chemical exerted by plant or bacteria always leads to a decreased potential toxic effect. Biotransformation of chemicals exerted by plants or bacteria always leads to an increased potential toxic load for mammals. And biotransformation of chemical exerted by plants or bacteria can be affected by other environmental and agronomic factors. I think, Chiara, you can comment.
I mean, of course, the question was super easy. So the biotransformation of chemicals may be affected of many different factors. So it's really difficult to explain it clearly. But I really want to go to the wrong question because the right one is the right one. Okay, nothing to say. But I just want to say that, for instance, the 4% of people, so the 2-3 people selecting the one that said says the biotransformation of chemicals exerted by plants or bacteria always leads to an increase of potential toxic load for mammals. It's not in that way. I mean, the chemicals, the overall sum of the chemical is the same. What the plant, not only mycotoxin, I mean every chemical, what the plant may do is to take a part of this whole, of this whole and biotransform. So it's like you don't consider the proper 100%. So if you, and this part, this biotransform can be more toxic, equal toxic, or less toxic. So that's what we have to keep in mind. The overall amount is the same, but there is a proportion that is invisible sometimes to our instrument. That's the point we have to consider.
Okay, thanks, Chiara.